Hi everybody, it's Angie again, and I'm going to continue my update answering Facebook questions. My first video, uh, it took a really long time to answer those questions. One of the things about prepping for this trail has been I moved back in with my parents. Thank you both very much. So that I don't have to be in a lease while I'm gone. So I'm living with them until I leave for the trail. And so being in a different space that's not mine, and all of the things that go along with that was a little bit of a challenge on this last one. And I tend to get just talky. So thank you everybody that asked those questions that I answered in the first video. I actually want to start by elaborating just a little bit more about Seth's question. He asked about extremes in temperatures and environments, and I really only talked about one element of the desert and I got distracted. So, basically I have to prepare to have everything that I need with me almost all the time. And the exceptions to this are when I get out of the desert and into the Sierra, I will have sent myself colder gear. So that's, I'll send my crampons there, my ice axe. If I need warmer clothes, things like that will be sent there. I'm going to be sending insect-treated clothing to Oregon and Washington, as well as warmer clothes to Washington again. So there are considerations for things changing along the way, and I'm not expecting to end the trail with the same things that I started the trail with. I just don't think that that's going to be possible. So I plan ahead the best that I can, and once I get out there, I will figure out what works for me and what doesn't, and switch things out from there. So yes, there are going to be extremes, but we try to plan ahead for that as much as possible. So thank you again, Seth. Let's see. Okay. Nancee Sandville, and I'm sure by extension Guy Sandville, is asking if I'm taking a weapon. I will be carrying a knife with me that will have many, many uses along the way. To sort of tie in, Jean Pilon is asking, somewhere here, where'd you go, Jean? There you are. It's centering around personal safety. She wants to know, sorry. Will I know knife defense basics? Will I know where there are dead zones for cell phone communication? If I'm in trouble, are there any safety checkpoints? And who would be concerned if they didn't hear from me? So for all of these things, these are fabulous questions. Thank you for these. I have taken self-defense multiple times over the last couple of years. I will look into knife defense though, so I appreciate you bringing that up. I have listened to podcasts with people who talk about, how to carry certain things so that it's a defense strategy instead of just something that you can't access. So these are things that I am looking into. A lot of areas are going to be dead zones for cell phone service, unfortunately. I will be hiking into towns. I'll have some idea of what towns I'm going to be stopping in for resupplies ahead of time, and so I do have people that I'm checking in with to make sure that I'm relatively on track, which, for hiking is a little different. Like, we're so used to things being instant in our lives, and that's not really how this works outside. So, my guide and friend, Stefan, in Utah, when we first met him, when we were discussing, we trained with him for canyoneering, and it was wonderful. And he said, always give the trailhead where you've parked your car, where you're supposed to come out, the length of time it should take, and then those people who know where you are and when you should be back, give it at least 24 hours or more if they don't hear from you, because you might just be waiting out weather. You might be waiting out something that just puts you off for a little bit of time, and then you'll hike out and be safe. So there will be a buffer time if people don't hear from me. I am also going to be signing trail logs, so there will be other hikers on trail who will have some idea if I'm behind them or ahead of them. And that's one of the greatest things that I've heard and read about with the trail community, is how how you sort of look out for each other, even if you aren't hiking together. And so there will be people who are aware of where I am, or where I should be at least. And then Ian piggybacks off of Jean and says, do you have to learn any new techniques or tactics on how to interact with certain dangerous animals? I'm not going to wrestle a bear, if that's what you mean. So thank you, L, another bear comment. I'm not looking into, well, I am looking into things like bears, but a lot of this stuff is common sense, which might be frustrating as an answer, but it's true. And let things be, right? If you don't bother things, chances are they're not going to bother you. And I think what I'm looking into more is things like first aid if I do come in contact with things like snakes. So it's really the after stuff that I'm looking into instead of preventative techniques. So thank you, Nancee, Ian, and Jean, for those questions. This is sort of connected. Tom asked, will I have some type of GPS system that you can message and send your location to people? Which I guess goes along with all the safety things that we're talking about. I am looking into it. The thing that's crazy about these handheld GPS units is their cost. They're incredibly expensive. And I don't just mean, a couple of $100s. Like, the cheaper ones, like the Spot devices, they'll be like $150, but then you have to spend money to activate it and then to have a subscription service the entire time you're gone. And I'm going to be gone for 5 to 6 months. So the purpose of these devices, in my case, is not for a map. I'm going to have other resources to use as a map. It would simply be for an emergency device, which I do believe is extremely important. And so right now I'm trying to figure out how to make that possible, because I simply can't afford to pay over $1,000 to carry something just in case, which I realize that sounds ridiculous, but it's true. So the other thing is that I have heard accounts of people carrying these devices, and the truth is that they're spotty. That if you're tracking yourself, or if you're using the option where you can send a signal to somebody at home, that often these things are very unreliable, and they often cause more stress than relieve stress. So that is something I'm still researching. I'm not done. I'm not done with it yet. I had written it off just because of cost, but I'm trying to figure it out. Right now I've been messaging a lot of cell phone apps, different companies that offer GPS map services when you are out of cell phone range. What I'm trying to understand is if they can communicate with your phone without cell phone signal, why can't I send an emergency beacon? So that's where I'm at right now. I'm researching some stuff, different companies and apps and things. So thanks, Tom. All right, Jim Zhang is asking, what do you see as your biggest challenge, psychological or physical overall, and how am I preparing to deal with it? I think I bump into a new problem every couple weeks or so that I don't realize is going to be a problem, and then I work to overcome it. Planning something like this is just huge, especially if you've never done anything like this before. It takes a lot of time, a lot of digging, a lot of research, a lot of filtering through stuff that doesn't apply to you or isn't valid anymore. So my biggest physical challenge for sure is going to be I think my feet. I've been experiencing an issue with my feet for the past couple of weeks, my left foot actually, which I have experienced acutely while hiking in the past, but it goes away. And right now I'm experiencing it chronically. It's here all the time, and I am seeing a doctor about it to figure it out, but it's entirely likely that I may have to stop off in towns and see a doctor for a cortisone shot in order to be able to hike without too much pain. The injury in my foot, I think, it's not something that I'm making worse by hiking. It's just a chronic problem. So I'm worried about that because it is extremely painful, and it does get to a point where I have to stop for the day. And then I twinged my knee the other day. I don't know what I did. But I woke up, I was going to New York City to see Jeff Daniels in To Kill a Mockingbird at the Schubert Theater on Broadway. If you haven't gone to see it, or if you aren't sure if you're going to go to see it, go see it. It's incredible. Truly, it's great. But so I went to go see him, and I woke up that morning with knee pain, and it just continued to get worse. So I have a doctor's appointment to see what's happening, and we'll go from there. But somebody just got home like last time. So I'm going to end it there for today and just say thank you very much again for asking these questions. Continue to ask me questions because it forces me to think about things that I maybe didn't think about. And I appreciate your patience if I give you an attitude when you ask me. Yeah, but I do appreciate it. So thank you very much, and until next time.